Good morning, everyone. It's nice to see you smiling here under the sun. So, my background is actually fashion marketing, so I'm going to talk a lot about fashion industry and lifestyle. And if your startup is related to that, that's awesome. If not, then probably I hope you will get some good ideas and inspirations to use for your own industry. Actually, the fashion and food industries were the very first ones to use Instagram to the fullest as a platform, as a community. And I've chosen to speak a little bit about how Instagram changed fashion industry and the business game, and how businesses are actually changing a lot their strategies from the, making the products and communicating about it and making the sale. And to start with, I don't know if many of you have noticed that nowadays you can actually forget the models in the magazines. They are not the most important or the most influential ones. If you think about it, a lot of fashion houses and creators and brands are now choosing their models according to the number of followers they have on Instagram. The one example would be the Kendall Kardashian or Kendall Jenner. If you've heard about such personality, it's also the case with a lot of Victoria's Secret models. They are chosen mostly because they have huge following. If they have huge following, that means they are interesting personalities, they're pretty, and so on and so forth. But this is an additional value sort of to the brand, to work with the models that have also, they act like a media channel. A lot of brands also create products. Some of them actually create specific items or pieces that would pop in the feed of their own Instagram, of other people's Instagrams. They organize their fashion shows and events so that they would look nice on Instagram. So with the people who come to the event actually would have the content, they would have material to make content on and share the news about the event and about the brand itself. So I see basically three ways that Instagram has changed fashion business in a major way. One of them is storytelling. So we know that storytelling is becoming more and more important, right? And for everyone. Especially it is important for a startup because you're new, you're creating something innovative, and people may not notice its difference from the other ones. People may not even realize that they have a problem you're trying to solve, right? So you have to tell a story and you have to be very efficient in it. Instagram happens to be the perfect platform to tell stories. And when you tell story on Instagram, it's not only one post that has the story. You have the continuous story and story all over, right? And they stay on Instagram actually for a lot longer than compared to Facebook on Twitter. I'm going to tell a little bit more about that later. The great example is War by Parker. Actually, a lot of accounts on Instagram with fashion brands, they have introduced topics of lifestyle and talking about who is their customer, right? They talk about recommendations where their audience should go to try a meal, where the events they should go to, what do they do in their free time, and so on. So this is not only talking about the product, it's telling the whole story about who that person buying this brand is and what he might be interested in. The second one is that a lot of content and a lot of product selling is actually done by the consumers themselves, especially on Instagram, right? It is said that good marketing is when other people tell about your brand when you're not in the room, right? When they talk good about you. So now it has actually changed, and the brand with the transparency and the openness, which is The third major way the Instagram has changed the industry, the brand actually can be in the room. He can listen to what people are saying, how they're reacting to things, and to items, and to events the brand is making. And they can actually join the conversation. So one of the examples is Urban Outfitters that have included the user-generated content in their website, in their e-shop or e-store where you buy clothing. So people who buy from Urban Outfitters, they buy the piece of clothing and then they use a specific hashtag and their pictures appear next to the sales product, right? So when you are looking for the product, let's say on the e-store you have chosen the skirt, and next to the professional photo shoot pictures from all sides and the product description, you can see other real people who have bought the item, how this item looks in different background situation, how it looks in real life. And that makes the users create the sales process, right? So you appear on the brand's e-store and you are doing the selling as well with your content. So a lot of people do that to be noticed, of course. And fans love to create content for a lot of brands. The other example would be Marc Jacobs. Last year, year and a half ago, in 2014, fall-winter campaign, he organized the model competition, sort of. 9 people who have shared pictures with specific hashtag have been chosen to be the faces of the campaign. So that's also one part, how brands are including users and how users are actually shaping the whole business, right? They become part of the business, doing it and selling the product and representing it. This is an example of Alice and Olivia, whose Instagram account is talking a lot about production and a lot about inspirations, how their product has been created, why it has been created, what was the process, what were the decisions that changed probably the product from the very first idea and how it came to the end. So it gives a lot of openness to the production and creation process. So users and buyers are also included to react on everything, right? And of course, a lot of times, this being that open is risky, and because brand loses control. It loses control what other users post on their website, right? Because they use a specific hashtag, how they would react to any of your posts or any of your actions, because you are showing a lot more of those. So you lose the control, but you also can sort of facilitate the conversation. And as a marketer, I know myself that actually brands were never in control. Even if you weren't in that room, you couldn't control what people were talking about you. And now when you can be in the room and you can hear it, you can react and make decisions accordingly, right? So more about Instagram. Why am I fascinated about it, and why I've actually worked with a couple of startups within fashion and lifestyle. And that's when precisely I got interested in Instagram. It's because it's actually very effective, and it has grown a lot during the last 2-3 years. And so it goes that Instagram, as of right now, has the highest engagement rate among the social networks for the average brand. So, of course, there are brands that are very successful, and there are those that are not. Mostly, those who are not successful, they're not putting a lot of effort or attention to Instagram. That's what I am thinking. And the engagement on average is 10 times bigger or more intense than on Facebook. It's 54 times bigger than on Pinterest, and even 84 times than Twitter. And all that comes to the fact that we actually post a lot more posts on those platforms, right? We post huge amount of tweets, and we do a lot of pictures on Pinterest. And then Facebook probably is the one that we post less, but it's counted that actually average user posts 2 posts per day on Facebook. And then on Instagram, you post only once. That's the average amount. But that's why the engagement is much higher on Instagram when you post far less pictures, right? And it is researched that 65% of top posts that were posted by the brand feature the product. So that actually means that people prefer to see products from the brands or in the brand account. And actually, lifestyle content has less of an engagement. It has 43% only. And images that were retweeted or reposted, reshared from influencers, they have only 29% of engagement. So that's twice less than the product presentation itself, right? And actually, Instagram is now a product search engine because 50% of Instagram users, they research products on Instagram. So if a person has Instagram account, it is very likely that once he hears about a new product from anywhere, from magazine ad or radio or online campaign, he would, or half of them would research the product, and they would go and they would type in the hashtags. They would want to see how this product actually looks in real life. People who are buying this product, what they are saying about this product, and so forth. Also, Instagram turns out to have 11 times more return on investment compared to any other digital media. How can that be? So, unlike any other campaign, let's say Google AdWords or Facebook page post or banner campaign, its life is a lot shorter than Instagram picture. It is there for the moment, and then there's gone. When you finish the campaign, when you stop advertising it, mostly people or users, they do not go too far down your Facebook page content, and they don't see it, and they don't interact with it anymore. Here's an example of a blogger who has posted the lipstick, the news about new lipsticks, right, and the new brand. And this was posted on February. Once it was up, on the same day, it received 5,000 likes. And as of yesterday, it has almost 12,000 likes, and it's still growing. That means that even after a few months, that would be 3 months, right? People find the content, and they would interact. And actually, there are more interactions over the next few months than on that same day. So that means that the content lives longer, and is still useful and seen, and people love to interact with it still. So also there's an interesting fact that 92% of people actually respect or they're interested in opinions about products, recommendations from other people, even if they don't know them. And that makes it that if a person sees a user-generated photo on Instagram and the review, or maybe even none of the review at all, even if someone sees that somebody else has used this product, the chances of you converting that person who has seen the picture is 4.5% higher, and it goes up to 9% if a person interacted with a picture. So everyone who is liking influencers' photo with the product, probably you can motivate them to buy the product and try it out. we are now living in the experience economy, I would say. Everyone wants authentic experiences, right? With the services and with products and with the way we live, we want to get surprises and the real emotions everywhere with everything we do. And the problem with that is that no brand can actually provide anyone with authentic experience, because authenticity is something that is created within us, right? It's how we perceive things and how we feel when we see or experience something. So how I see Instagram or overall influencer marketing is helping out with this is the brand can never create experience to you, but people, when they observe other people using the products and living a certain lifestyle, they then can identify themselves with the group. So if I see a certain group of people and I see how they live, how they interact, okay, they use this product, then I can easily decide if I can join, if I am one of them, if I would want to be one of them. And then when you see other people experiencing authentic experiences, you can, perceive as having one yourself. Another thing about influencers, I would say that an influencer is actually a small agency, because, especially on Instagram, if you are working with a person who has a high following, that one person is a model, a copywriter, a creative, a photographer, a graphic designer at times, a strategist, analyst. He knows everything about his account and his audience. So that, in my opinion, makes him a small agency. And if a brand, a startup in particular, if he can work with a lot of these influencers and a lot of people, that would account as working with a lot of agencies, right? Especially if you actually work with a lot of people that generate content for you and for your website and do the selling for you, that means that you have 100 agents in a way, and that was never possible before. So why do I think that's good news for startups, all of that I've been mentioning before? Well, first of all, to be successful on Instagram, you need to understand the technology and the way that it's going. You have to embrace the storytelling. And as I said, it's very important to work on storytelling for startups. Startups, as well as Instagram leaders, they are willing to challenge the rules and try new things. And Instagram marketing and content marketing overall is not matured yet. It's just started. So there are no certain rules. You have to experiment a lot. You have to be willing to experiment a lot. And you have to be committed to try a lot of different channels. And by this, I actually now mean a lot of influencers, because if you start working with them, it's likely that not 100% of them would be your fit or good fit for you. The important thing is data to analyze. Actually, when I work with traditional businesses, they don't base a lot of actions or strategy on data, and startups are exactly that. We make decisions based on data, we build our strategy based on data, and good news, Instagram has a lot of data. Why? Because most of the content on Instagram, the vast majority of the accounts are public. And you can get the data if you're willing to, if you know what to look for. You can find and analyze, actually computer scientists and engineers now can analyze all of this data about the profiles, about the hashtags, about the topics, about the visuals, and they can say a lot about the person. They can actually predict how the person would act in a certain situations, what kind of problems he might have in a half a year or a year. So that's very valuable information. I don't know if you've heard about Target. A few years ago, there has been a news that Target has sent baby coupons to a girl that was pregnant, but 2 weeks before her father got to know that she's pregnant. How come is that? So Target is using data analysis to see the certain patterns of how their buyers are choosing the products, how their patterns are changing, and if some certain things have changed in the last 2 weeks, let's say, they would interpret that, something is changing in that person's life. So even if that girl is not buying or suddenly start buying baby products, they might predict that, okay, she's done this, she's bought that, perhaps she's pregnant, we have to send her coupons. So that's what happened, and that was funny. So what would be my advice to working with influencers? Because now they are, I would think, worth of the investment for startups. First of all, I would recommend focusing on micro influencers, so the ones that have smaller following. The higher the following, the less of the engagement. The bigger the audience, the more varied it would be less focused. So if you know exactly what kind of audience you're targeting, it would be smart to find perhaps more of the influencers, but the ones that have very specific focused audience, and start working with them and then build your way up. Important thing is to give your influencers breathing room, meaning if you look at the influencer as the agency, you have to give them a briefing, you have to give a guideline, what's your goal and what do you want to achieve. But then you have to let them do the creative, and you have to let them talk the way they talk, because only that would ensure that you actually will create that authentic experience that I mentioned before, right? If that would be specifically your guided, very strict campaign, it will not work, because that would smell like a brand and smell like an advertising. Of course, a lot of audiences, they know and they do realize that a lot of influencers, they get money for promoting things, but they also know that the goal of the influencer is actually to make a connection and not a sale, because he's not the one who's selling, right? It's not his product. So the trust there is a lot higher. So you have to be willing to give space for that person to work with this audience the way he knows best. And another thing is making it Instagrammable. Me, myself, I have 39,000 followers on Instagram. And I do get sent certain products to try out, and brands expect me to advertise them. The one thing or the mistake that I noticed a lot of the time, when someone sends me a package with the products, it wouldn't be too hard to make it look Instagrammable the way I name it, right? Make a pretty box, put something nice in it, so that when I open it, I can instantly picture it, upload it to Instagram stories, share, that experience and surprise and joy of getting a present and so forth. And if it's not pretty, I will not picture it. Doesn't matter if it was paid for or not paid for. I mean, about creating the tools for the blogger, for the influencer, to actually present your product in the best way possible. If you send it in a, ugly-looking box, that's how it will represent itself. So you have to think about how to make it rapid, representable, and so that it would communicate what you actually want to communicate to the end user, right? And the last advice would be to prioritize your community. Oftentimes, when a brand is working with influencer, he would do that part very well. And then the influencer would do the campaign, and everything looks great, and everyone likes the product, people are engaging, maybe even sales are there, right? They're coming. But a lot of brands do not do their part. They do not create a community on their Instagram account, or they do not try to interact with the people that engaged with the influencer's post. right? They posted comments. Why brands do not go there and answer to the comments? Include themselves in the conversation. That's not too hard, but I see that a lot of brands forget that. And community, of course, is very important because those personal interactions, when brand is replying to your comment, when the brand is going to your account and seeing that you're drinking coffee and wishes you to have a nice day, that's an authentic experience. That's creating a relationship. So I would sum up that working with the influencer is a great way to introduce your product to the market. But now, when you've done that, it's up to you if you are creating a relationship with the person or you're just letting him hang there. So I wish everyone to try it out and actually to pay attention how influencers and how some of the fashion brands are acting in the social network. And good luck.
Questions, please, audience. Okay, we have a question. Nice.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for your presentation. It just was interesting. And we didn't hear your personal story. 39,000. What's your main secrets to get this thousands of followers?
I'm sharing a lot of that in my blog, actually. So if you're interested, I specifically chose not to talk about myself and try to give value to you. If you're interested, find me in Google and read my blog. I have a few posts about that, but basically it's actually 3 years of work every day. A post every day. That's how you learn.
Okay, thank you. And the second question, you gave a lot of data about Instagram, and what is kind of the source? From where did it come?
So each slide had a source written below. So I don't know, probably the videos will be available. I would probably use this presentation as well and spread it on my own social networks. So you'll find that. A lot of data is from social media, metrics companies, and some of it is from Instagram itself.
Okay, cool. So, Ramunė, I have a question. You were you were talking about user-generated content, and yes, of course, it can be a really powerful tool indeed. Okay, there's a ton of success examples, but Lithuanian social media users are not so keen to generate content for other brands, right? So how to engage your audiences properly to simply make them generate content for you?
Yeah, so actually I think first of all, it's what I've mentioned. It's not making it Instagrammable. I see that, companies just don't think, how can I create something amazing so that no one who walks by cannot take a picture of it? It's that basic, actually. And sometimes brands do not ask it. If there's an e-store and they are sending you a package, you bought something, they could add a card or put it on the box. Our hashtag is this. Sometimes that's all it takes. I see that Lithuanian brands don't work too much on it. That's because in global context, we are late with the interests on Instagram. It has just started last year, I would say, and the bloggers, they sort of pop out only last year, but some of them, they're working for 5 years, 7 years, right? So yeah, I think it's coming. The brands will work more with it, and people would engage more as well.
Cool, thank you very much.